day home from work. This is vlog number 121. I can't believe I've made 121 of these. This is the vlog where I talk about Quarterly Stories, which is my graphic novel that I hand write, hand letter, hand ink, and then hand to you, hopefully someday in print. But until that day, it's available serialized online at quarterlystories.com. It's a very personal story to me about faith and mental illness, and this is the vlog where I document the process and the progress of creating that graphic novel on top of being a full-time art director, a full-time husband, and a full-time father. I am basically heading home from work. I was thinking about doing a drop-off at Gallery 1988 over the weekend, but the fires were still going, so I figured it would actually be better to wait until Friday in order to drop off those prints. That's just following up. Those are prints that I did of a poster that I created and illustrated for Gallery 1988 for a Monty Python themed show that is in February. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I can get a little bit of footage of the location when I go to do my drop-off. And other than that, I am heading home. Catalog is finally kind of wrapped up, and I'm just thinking about how thankful I am to be over like one of the busiest seasons at my workplace. And at the same time, I'm also trying to maintain momentum on my comic. It's an interesting thing juggling full-time work and full-time parenting along with creating a graphic novel of the size that I'm aiming to make, and I'm making a little bit of progress, a little bit more progress than the last vlog. So far I've inked pretty much 2 more panels since the last time I updated. I didn't film any footage of that, but I'm hoping to be able to ink at least 1 panel tonight, and when I ink that, I'll probably film the progress of that. Everybody in the house is sick. That's a byproduct of kind of being a parent sometimes, is that usually one of the family gets sick, and then the sickness just kind of travels, you know, like a tag team, just back and forth through every single person in the family. And I'm still kind of recovering from that, but feeling a lot better, feeling kind of optimistic. It also turns out that we are going to go to Utah to visit my wife's side of the family towards the end of the month, which I'm kind of excited about, because that means that hopefully I can update the vlog and document that trip a little bit. A fun little vacation to Utah, which should be pretty cool. It should be about 3 days that I'm up there, and then my wife is going to stay about a week longer just to kind of get in a little more time with her family, because we barely get to see them because they're out of state and we're in different states. So that should be pretty awesome. And yeah, I should be able to get a little footage of that interesting trip. So yeah, so there's that. On top of that, I've finally got back to working out. For those of you who follow the vlog, you'll know that I think it's really important as creatives for us to have energy and be prepared for, you know, the long haul of creative projects. And unfortunately, a byproduct of being a cartoonist as well as an art director or a full-time designer is you're usually hunched over a desk or a table for long periods of time, and you're using your hand a lot. And so basically what I was finding was that I would have back pain quite frequently. I'm finally at an age where I would just notice these really like piercing pains under my shoulder blades, and my hand would hurt a lot, and basically just getting a lot of these aches and pains, and also just constantly feeling exhausted, which is just kind of a byproduct of a really busy life where you're trying to make stuff. And I find this across the board. Like, most creatives I know suffer from, like, you know, feeling exhaustion a lot, because they're usually not just settling for whatever it is that's paying the bills. Usually they're also pushing to create their own properties, that are a little less lucrative in the short term, and probably a lot more fulfilling in the long run. So anyhow, that's pretty much quarterly stories for me. That's my project that I'm working on top of work. And one of the problems is I sit for about 8 hours a day at a desk, and I do have to lead a team of creatives, but I'm still only walking around for so long. And I am repetitively using a Wacom tablet at work, and then I come home and I spend about 2 hours a day, usually at least, cartooning. And so basically it's just a lot of repetitive hand motion, and the way that I ink, I do kind of lean over my desk, so it's a lot of neck problem creating work. So anyhow, because of that, I started using a rowing machine, because I had read that is really good for your back. And so I do a rowing routine for about 30 minutes a day. It usually ends up being about 25 minutes. So there's that. And then on top of the rowing machine, I also, sorry, I thought this guy was trying to get over, but then he didn't. And in California, if somebody lets you over, either get over or don't hesitate. Because hesitation on a lane change just basically means you're not getting in the lane. Anyhow, so on top of that, I also started to implement yoga into my daily routine, which is really weird for me because I've never been like a big exercise guy, and I've talked about it probably ad nauseum on the vlog, so I don't want to bore you guys too much. But I do about 30 minutes of yoga a day as well, and I had basically decided to do this, I don't know, like 50 days ago, 60 days ago with the yoga, and probably about 100 days ago with the rowing machine. And initially it was really hard to make the time to do, but after about 2 weeks, it started kind of ingraining this idea. And then after about 3 months straight of it, about 2 months straight of it, it's kind of become a habit. And so I'm a big fan, if you guys follow the vlog, of like kind of repeating things on a daily basis so that they become these habits that are ingrained. Because for me, for my personality, unless I've basically made something a habit, my subconscious will find a way to avoid doing anything healthy or positive for myself. So, point being, I basically started ingraining this habit, and then unfortunately the getting sick thing has made me have to basically put off doing my workout. But what was nice was last night, I actually managed to do my yoga and my rowing routine as well, which means really good things because I didn't let that little pause in activity kind of psych me out, which is something I tend to do, and I think a lot of us tend to do. When you're doing something positive and you're repeating it on a daily basis, and then you accidentally miss a day or something comes up and forces you to miss a day, a lot of the biggest challenge can be getting back to it and not letting your own psyche or your own subconscious basically talk you out of doing those things. So yesterday I did that, got a haircut so that I no longer look like a giant puffball of hair on my head, and once again went through the routine of like looking at the beard and going, should I keep it? I don't know. It's sticking around and it's just kind of hanging out there, but there's always this, subconscious part of me that's saying, what does my face look like again? But then there's another part of me that's like, I like the beard of authority and I think I will keep it. Anyhow, so that's pretty much what I'm up to right now. So when I get home today, I'm hoping that I'll retain the energy and enthusiasm to be able to get my workout routine done, and then to hit the drawing board and do at least a panel of quarterly stories and a page for quarterly stories. That'll basically do it for now. Traffic is kind of iffy right now. I mean, like, there were all these massive fires before, and luckily it seems like those are pretty contained, but there's still a mass amount of traffic. So hopefully I can avoid a lot of that on the way home, and then I will catch up with you guys once I'm at home, to basically be able to hopefully get some cartooning done. I'm also listening to this book Artemis by Andy Weir. He's the guy who wrote The Martian, and I actually really enjoyed the book. I know it's like one of those kind of bestseller fiction type books, but I thought the book was really good. I actually enjoyed the movie too, but not as much as the book. I feel like the book got a lot more in depth, and the movie went a little too quickly. Like, it would have been a better maybe TV series. But anyhow, so I was curious about his follow-up book, and so far I'm really enjoying it. It's kind of nice to read a book that has a female lead character. However, so far I'm not really sure entirely if I think it's as good as The Martian, but I feel like it's a fairly good book if you're into sci-fi. If you're into like sci-fi books that are about, you know, colonies on other planets, it's pretty much a heist on the moon, and so I like that. There are some things I'm not a huge fan of, but I don't really take a lot of time to be an overtly like huge critic of things anymore. That doesn't mean I don't have taste anymore. It just means that, like, going through the process of creating art and trying to write stories and stuff, I tend to give people a little more of a pass with like certain things that maybe I don't particularly like about a story. I mean, one thing I'll say that I will say, and it is a slight criticism, is, and I hope that I myself, like, were I to be writing a main character who was a female, I do feel like it falls under a lot of tropes of that men tend to fall into when they're writing female characters. I mean, anyhow, I'll get more heavily into that after I've read the book, but so far I'm enjoying it, and if you guys need like an entertaining, kind of quick throwaway read, I think that would be a pretty good one. Other than that, I'm reading this like weird book on Winston Churchill's life, and it's a massive book, but it's fascinating. It gets into like a lot of the background of what England was like, you know, in the Victorian era, you know, in order to basically give you a context and an idea of the England that kind of made and shaped Churchill before World War II. And that in itself is really fascinating too. It hasn't gotten into like a bunch of meaty bits, you know, with Churchill and himself, but I think it's like this 2-part series. I'll get the name of it, but yeah, so like I think that's pretty entertaining and interesting too. I always kind of admired Churchill because he was a leader who was pretty effective at a time where it was almost impossible to be an effective leader. And I think one of the most fascinating things about him, from what I've read and gathered, is that it seems like he may not have actually been that good of a leader were it not for the war that he was leading in. Meaning, like, he was kind of like the right guy at the right time, but if you put him in like a different context, in like a post-war or you know, Europe, like he might have been kind of a disastrous leader. But what's interesting about Churchill is the decisions he made when the pressure was on, and you know, not a perfect leader by any chance, but definitely very fascinating, and definitely like a very brilliant mind with a lot of great quotes too. So anyhow, I just thought I'd mention that too, because I realized, like, I read quite a lot, especially audiobooks on my commute, and yet I don't tend to talk publicly about what I'm reading or, you know, things like that. And one of the things I'm working on with this vlog is being a little more vulnerable and open about my life, and one of those things would actually be including information like what I read, you know, what I like to do, stuff like that. Hopefully you guys are interested in that kind of thing. Anyhow, so if any of you guys are reading Artemis, let me know what you guys think so far. You know, I know a few people I know think, aren't really big Andy Weir fans. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. But I enjoy that kind of thing from time to time. So anyhow, I'm gonna get back to driving, and I will hopefully, knock out some awesome cartooning when I get home, and hopefully get a little workout in. Hopefully before that, I'll be able to hang out and goof around with my kid, and eat dinner with the family and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I will see you guys when I get home. Alright, so I'm heading home. Catalog is completely wrapped up at work, which is awesome. There were a few little refinements that had to happen, and other than that, we're basically we're all caught up. And now I am heading to Josh's house to play with the band. And today we have the bassist and the drummer trying out. So if I can get a little footage of it, I will, but I'm actually pretty excited. 1, 2, 3, 4.
that should wrap it up. Thanks to those of you who've subscribed, liked, shared, and commented on my YouTube channel, especially subscribed. It means a lot, helps the channel keep going. And I hope you guys liked hearing the band. This is literally the drummer's second time, the bassist's first time, so I'm sure that, we're gonna be a lot less choppy in a couple weeks, but it's fun. It was fun. It was a lot of fun to play with a full room of people. I hope you guys could kind of see some of the energy we were feeling. I hit a bunch of off notes, but that's rock and roll. Alright guys, I will see you guys next week.